Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Library. Today we're going to talk about two different stories, a comic book and a kind of a more unique item. The first thing is the comic, and then we're still in 1996, and this is another Boba Fett one-shot from Dark Horse. This one's called Boba Fett When the Fat Lady Sings. It's by Ian McDowell, and I was, like I said, produced as a one shot. I have it here collected in the Boba Fett Death, Lies, and Treachery trade paperback, which is, I feel like, the most easy way to get it. Um, this was how I first read it. I remember getting this trade at a library and then now owning it myself. So basically, it's kind of this Boba Fett story is a little interesting in the sense of it's a little unconventional. There's a lot of action in it, but there's some dark humor in it as well. So basically, in this story, Boba Fett is taking a bounty. It's like, okay, great, but it then becomes more and more complicated. But he sticks to his guns. Boba Fett does, and he remains relentless and efficient, and he's doing all this stuff, and basically there is a genuine fat lady who plays a very significant role in these events, and so it's a little different. Fett is obviously, he still feels like Boba Fett. He's not, he doesn't feel like this different character or anything like that. It still feels like Fett, but it's usually I don't know, like it has like a Pulp Fiction kind of vibe to it. It's kind of fast paced, and it's kind of a little I don't know, like an ironicness to it, if I can, if I could say. It's definitely a little bit different than probably what we're used to when it comes to Boba Fett stories. Um, it's it's a little goofy, little kind of silly and whatnot. But I mean, it's an interesting story. I don't have anything really bad to say about it. It's an enjoyable read. It was nice to kind of have it in a collection here. I mean, I'm kind of glad I didn't buy it as a one shot. Getting it in a collection of other Boba Fett stories was more interesting to me. So I don't know. For me personally, I would recommend reading it as part of the collection rather than its own one thing. Just think of it as like another story in a collection rather than I don't know. That's just me. But so it's fun, but it's definitely a little bit interesting. So maybe some Boba Fett fans might not like it as much as other stories that he's prominently featured in, but that's just my opinion. So now we'll get to talk about a very fun object. This is something I didn't find about until, like, gosh, when was it? 2017, 18, maybe? I don't know. It was a while. But it's the Jabba's Palace pop-up book, and it's a big pop-up book too. But it's by Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Mosta, who I adore because they did the Young Jedi Knight series, and yeah, they did this, and it is a pop-up book, and basically, and it's using the concept art from Ralph McQuarrie, so he gets illustration credit. But yeah, it's basically a story about a Gamorrean named Jubnuk, and basically it's his story um, in Return of the Jedi. He's the Gamorrean that actually gets killed, or he falls down into the Rancor pit with Luke in the movie. And what's interesting is that there's only actual two pop-up book or moments here. Everything is just a normal book. So it's this, and then it's the part where he gets eaten, and that's the only part. But I didn't know this until a friend told me. There's actually a secret ending. If you feel around, you can see that this kind of comes apart. So when you open it, there's an epilogue. And it basically says, later, after Luke Skywalker has killed the Rancor, the Keeper hears muff sounds. And sure enough, Jubnuk, the Gamorrean who gets eaten in the movie, is like an alien chestburster, punches his way out of the dead Rancor, and he survives. And it's kind of a nice happy ending. But yeah, it was a fun read. I think it actually does music too. Does it do music? Does mine still do it? Yeah. Can't believe it still does that. Yes. Anyways, such a fun thing. I love these obscure, like weird EU things where it's like, what were they thinking? But I love it. I absolutely love it. Such a fun story. I've read this to my boys a little bit, and they like it, and it's fun for me. There is also, but I don't think it's really part of the EU in terms of, it's more of just like a retelling of episode 4. It doesn't really add anything, but there's a Mos Eisley Cantina pop-up book. So if you want another one, it's there. This one just has a little bit more like EU, I guess, in the sense of it's a new story that happens to, end with some events in Return of the Jedi. So it's a fun read. Overall, are any of these things essential? No, of course not. These are just little one-shot things that are just fun. Like I said, Boba Fett, it's a little sadistic, it's a little dark, but it's not that bad. It's a fun read. Like I said, I still would encourage you to read it as a part of this collection rather than its one thing, because I think it just flows better as a collection of Boba Fett stories. Pop-up book is, to my recollection, pretty cheap to get online. It's fun. If you want to add a more obscure Star Wars piece to your collection, this is definitely it. And yeah, it's just a unique thing. And it was, like I said, it's a fun read. Is it essential? Oh, absolutely not. But if you ever want to know whatever happened or more about the Gamorrean who fell in the pit with Luke, this is your tale. So anyways, thanks so much for tuning in, folks, and I will see you next time. Until then, take care.